benefit from about 300 million direct investment from that project. That's direct investment. And then of course there's all the indirect investment that would result as well. And that project we estimate will create up to 500 jobs through the development, construction and operation phase. And during construction, we anticipate that to be about 444 full-time equivalent jobs over the construction period of about 2 to 3 years. And there'll be about 50 long-term jobs for the operations. So they're the guys or girls who go up to the top of those turbines that are going to be the towers and the nacelles that are going to be at about 160, 180 metres high. So you need to have appetite for getting up that high. I personally don't think I could do that, but that would be a prerequisite not to be scared of heights. But that's quite a thrilling opportunity for many actually. We are in the current planning and development phase still for the project. So we've received our development approval from the state government, and we've been working very closely with the plantation operator and also the native title holders Bachelor in the north and Cubby Cubby in the south to work out how do we indeed co-locate this wind farm on state land and native title land. And we're also working through some of our approvals and then commencing the procurement probably formally next year. So we've got about a year to go before the project will commence construction, or a little bit over a year. So that's a really great opportunity for us to be developing a workforce plan where we can attract as many people from the local region as possible to fill those construction and then build a pathway in to secure those long-term jobs. So this is a great opportunity today to tell you guys about the opportunities that are going to be available, what training and qualifications are going to be needed to secure some of those jobs, so that you can line yourself up for the contractors and the jobs that are going to be commencing in early 2022. So I've just mentioned where it is. I just acknowledge Auntie here that the project's on Bala country in the north and Cubby Cubby country in the south. And it's going to be it is quite sensitively located within that pine plantation. So in that effect, it minimises impacts on ecology. We've also been able to put the turbines at least 3 kilometres away from residences. So that's quite a distance away, double the distances required in the state regulation for wind. And I don't know if you're familiar with the context of that pine plantation there, but it is well away from residences that we really feel it minimises the impacts on communities. It also has the benefit of utilising all of those forestry tracks. That's one of the big jobs for a wind farm is building roads. We've already got an expansive road network that will need upgrading and maintenance, so that's another key job opportunity area. But we can leverage the infrastructure that's already there on the project site. So those maps there give you an idea of the vast scale of it, and the photo there also give you a sense of what it will ultimately look like. So just to tell you a little bit about who we are. So I work for Cleanside, and we're the development manager for the project, and we're in a partnership with Siemens. And so we're the project proponent. But we also have our wind turbine supplier is Siemens Gamesa Renewable Energy. And they will be the principal contractor, or what you call the engineering, procurement and construction contractor. And they're responsible for the procurement of the project, and they'll be doing all the contracting and the various work packages. And so the jobs will come through those various work packages. They won't be employed directly by us. They'll come through those subcontracts. In the project delivery, the key project objectives are, we really want to have this as a safe working environment and minimising environmental impacts. And I'm sure some of you guys would be familiar with those objectives. Overall, we want to be achieving low-cost energy, which is good for consumers, and it will enable us to sell our product. So working with the local suppliers and local workforce will help us keep the costs down and ultimately achieve and deliver a lower cost of energy. And a big objective of ours is that we create and maximise the job opportunities for locals, and in particular, the Bachelor and Cubby Cubby people. We really want to prioritise employment and training opportunities and programs that get Bachelor and Kabi and young people. We just heard outside what the unemployment rate is for youth in the region, and hopefully this project might go some way in creating opportunities for young people to work on this project and build a skills base that they can then take beyond as well to other opportunities. All right, so I've mentioned most of these benefits already, but this project is a significant large-scale energy generation project, and it would generate up to, it would represent 1/4 of Queensland's renewable energy target, and it would significantly reduce carbon emissions. Ultimately, you know, that's a key objective of ours, is to tackle climate change, and a project like this can make a significant difference in reducing emissions and transitioning towards a clean energy future. It also will have the effect of suppressing electricity prices, because that wind is a free resource that comes in over the plantation area. So if we can harness that wind, you will suppress the electricity price, because the cost of generation is significantly less than any new coal-fired power station that could be built in Queensland. So ultimately, as we see more renewables coming into the market, they will suppress the electricity price, which is good for industry, good for places like Maryborough, who have got that industrial base. So as the market transitions to renewables, we should see that cost of electricity coming down. So the next couple of slides have actually taken from the Clean Energy Council's report on jobs in renewables, just to give you an idea of where the future is for renewables in Queensland. So at the moment, renewables employs about 6,000 people in Queensland work on renewable energy projects. So that includes solar farms, wind energy, pumped hydro. I don't think there's much happening in the hydrogen space. These different graph lines just kind of represent what would happen under different government policy settings should they encourage more investment in renewables. But in any circumstances, we are seeing a growth in the renewables sector. And so developing a skill set, developing capabilities in this sector should set you up for employment opportunities, not only in this project, but in other opportunities that there's plenty of other wind farm proposals happening in Queensland. But also then the jobs that will occur in the operations is also growing. So it's, I think I read somewhere that there's renewables employs as many or more people than the domestic coal sector. So I think when we consider a transition away from fossil fuels, the job opportunities that are actually present in the renewables sector certainly challenges what the jobs are in the coal sector. So we shouldn't be afraid, if you like, of this sector replacing other jobs. So this kind of graph shows you some of the main job areas across all of the renewable sectors. This isn't just wind specific. This is for all the type of, as I mentioned, solar, hydrogen, etc., to give you an idea of what the distribution of professions are in these sectors. So you can see electricians are probably the most sought after trade in renewables. It doesn't make sense really when you think about it. But also there's a lot of work around mechanical trades as well as other kind of mechanical, civil and electrical trades, and there's a lot of labourer positions and plant operator positions, etc. But if you're thinking of a sustainable employment pathway, then some of those mechanical and electrical trades can set you up quite well for an ongoing future in renewables. So just to talk then a bit more specifically about our project, as I mentioned, we estimate that the project will create 440 full-time equivalent jobs during construction, and we are hoping that at least 80% of those will be sourced locally. So over this next year, we really need to identify all of the interested people, look at what the skills base is, what training gaps, what the training needs are, so we can have people job ready for when construction starts. So these next slides are really heavy in content, but I'm hoping that you can look at them later, or people can have a look at them later, and you can really pore through the types of roles that are typically available during a construction of a wind farm and the types of qualifications that are required. So there's, this first slide, these are the people who do the installation of the turbines, so they would be putting the nacelle up and installing the blades. So this one is quite more of a specialised field, the wind turbine installation field, but in that there is still some entry-level jobs that are available for that wind turbine installation. Crane is also, the crane installation work, that's another quite specialised area of employment too, but I've heard that there are some crane businesses that are moving to Queensland and even coming to these regions who do the extraordinary 200, high crane work, and so there's an opportunity to kind of get potentially work with these highly specialised areas, and they're quite well paid too, and then they can take you on work on other projects as well. And similarly, whilst there might be the highly specialised roles in that crane and installation work, it does come with a whole range of other truck drivers, labourers, site supervisors, etc. The other another area of core work package is the civil works, and there will be the bulk of local employment is probably likely to come in the civil works, and that's where we get again the plant operators, concrete, steel fixers, concrete pump operators, telehandler operators, dogmen. I didn't know what a dogman was. I had to ask someone the other day, what's a dogman? And general labour. So the types of qualifications there, obviously the basic white card, dogman's ticket, high risk operations tickets. There's a whole list of kind of certificates and competencies required, but a lot of those are achievable within the time frame that we're talking about for this project to start. Then we have the electrical balance of plant. This one's probably got a few more specialised jobs around those electrical trades. But again, what we're trying to do is identify that skills pathway in these and work with our contractors so that we can facilitate those entry-level positions, create some internships, link it up with apprenticeship providers, and provide that, make sure that this project is positioned in the broader region's kind of workforce development plan. So it can be leveraged to be providing certain skills and opportunities that can build for your qualifications, and then you can either take that on to the next job or secure a long-term job on the project. So in addition to those kind of core construction jobs, there's then a whole raft of support services and support packages that will be going out to tender too. So that's everything from cleaning services, hospitality, labour hire, pest control, temporary fencing, security, septic tank, sign writers. So there's a whole raft of services that will be required, and we're also trying to target those services amongst local businesses that can readily and easily supply these to the project. I touched a bit on it before, in operations we expect up to about 50 people, and we'll be looking for electricians and mechanical trade qualifications, general technicians, people who deal with high voltage operators, because there'll be a whole lot of substations that will also be built in the forest, and we're looking for store persons, and then the civil and site maintenance role. So that will be the main team that will be located on site at the operations compounds, who will be responsible for servicing and maintaining the turbines. And then there'll be the other kind of asset management role who'll look after all of the contracts and the financial management, the environmental monitoring, the stakeholder and ongoing community engagement, and there's certain roles that will be involved there. So I think, these are the kind of jobs that we've got people doing now in this development phase. We've got a lot of planning people, we've got wind engineers, we've got civil engineers, we've got a site manager, community engagement people like myself, and then we also employ a whole lot of other technical consultants around, acoustic assessments, aviation impact assessments, a lot of ecology work, cultural heritage. So there's an enormous, we probably have 30, 40 people working on the project already. The other day we're in the process of putting up some meteorological masts on the site. And it was fantastic to see. We had a local contractor there doing some of the civil works. We had Bachelor doing some cultural heritage monitoring, and we had the the company who's actually responsible for installing the Met mast. And so I think we had about 15 people out there on site the other day, and got the high vis on, and it was very exciting to see something happen, even though we are still away from getting all of our approvals. But I was excited to see something on the ground happening that really brought together all of the key local players, and thought, wow, this is exciting what this project can potentially do for this area. So as I mentioned, we really want to have a focus on traditional owner employment, but some of these skills development and opportunities, we also want to be trying to look at pathways for all locals as well. But in particular, we're going to have a targeted program to make sure that we can employ as many Bachelor and Cubby on the project. So these are just some of the types of initiatives that we'll have in place. For businesses who are wanting to register an expression of interest, we currently have a portal open now on the ICN Gateway, and that would also include different training organisations too, if they wanted to register their interest. And then in that way, you'll be informed of and notified when the requests for proposal actually go out to market next year. So I've got some more information and some brochures that I can hand out today. And we're also in the process of setting up, and maybe visit this site in a week, because I haven't quite completed yet, but we get so many inquiries for people who, every week we get so many inquiries for people who want to get a job on the project. And so we want to be able to capture that information, capture their skill sets, and then make that, should you agree, make that information available to the employers once those contractors are notified. So we want to kind of have a database of job seekers and put your qualifications and interest areas on, and then you'll be notified of when those opportunities become available in the future. So I have got an email address that you can contact, but I'm just still in the process of setting up that database. So that's it for the bulk of the presentation, but I'd be happy to answer any of your questions. Sorry, I know that was a lot of information in a short period of time.
Thanks, Jane. Big round of applause for Jane. As we said, this is being live streamed, and you can go back and watch it on YouTube on Jobs Fraser Coast. Our Fraser Coast. Right, sweet. So look for that. Now, questions. Anyone got a question? I'll ask you to stand and I'll bring the microphone to you and you can ask the question so the whole world can hear it.
In Tassie, the wind farms had an effect on the wildlife for the eagles, mainly, with bird strike. What plans have you people put forward to minimise the bird strikes?
So we have conducted ecology and bird survey since 2016, 2017. So we've got something like over 3 years of bird surveys that we've carried out over the project area and also along to the coastal areas. And world-renowned bird experts have also been involved in the design and the survey work there. And what we have found for this particular site, mainly because it's a plantation area, it's not necessarily a great food source for many bird species, is that we're not seeing the type of bird life that you might see in another area, and certainly what is experienced right on the coastal shores. Also, the bird behaviour is that they generally fly just above the tree canopy. So the species that are identified there, they generally fly just above the trees. And so what we call the rotor swept area of the turbine blades is well above the main flight path, flight area for most of the bird species that are found over that project area. And I think only about 9 species of birds were found to be flying, or even less, I can't remember, that fly within that rotor swept area. And there are behaviours of a lot of those birds, is that they are quite agile and swift. And so the assessment has found that there's a very low risk of impact on those particular bird species. None of those birds, we're not seeing any migratory shorebirds that fly over the project area, and the birds that that do fly in that zone have been assessed as being as low risk. Having said that, we will still be carefully monitoring, once the wind farm is built, we will still be carefully monitoring any bird strikes, and that then if it's found to have producing a result that's different from our initial assessment, there's a whole range of technologies available now that you can use on turbines that can in fact deter birds away from the flying into the turbines. Or for example, if sometimes there might be change in bird behaviour due to a storm or some kind of weather condition, and it can detect a flock, for example, that might be flying towards the turbines. That typically doesn't happen. And then you've got the ability to turn the turbines off during that period, so you would minimise any potential bird strikes. But this location of the wind farm has been carefully selected to avoid those kind of impacts. But so I hope that's answered your question.
Any other questions? Must have done a wonderful presentation, Jane. No questions. We do have one presentation for you, Jane. You'll notice that it is a very green
thank you.
shopping bag, recyclable.
Thank you.
Thank you. Another
Thanks
round of
very
applause
much.
for Jane.
Thanks, everyone.
And ladies and gentlemen, because of our COVID restrictions, we now can't go back out into the main foyer, so we'll ask you when you go out, go to the left, outside and then around the theatre from there. Thanks for your attendance. Have a great day.